She stepped into the boutique like any other customer, her movements unhurried, her smile subtle. Yet, something about her drew curious, and judgmental, glances. It only took a moment for the manager to decide she didn't belong there. What no one realized, however, was that this woman was married to one of the most famous and respected actors in the world. And when the truth came to light, the fallout wasn't just unexpected, it was unforgettable. But before we dive into this story, tell us, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow, we've got another inspiring story just for you. Now, back to the boutique. It was the very definition of exclusivity, with sleek white marble walls, gleaming glass shelves, and the soft melody of a string quartet weaving through the air, mingling with the scent of luxury perfumes. At the center of this world of refinement was Helena, the manager. For over a decade, she had ruled the boutique with a perfectionist's touch. Tall, impeccably dressed, and utterly meticulous, nothing escaped her sharp gaze. "Clara, straighten the crystals in the display," she commanded, her voice crisp, her expectations unwavering. To Helena, luxury wasn't just about expensive items, it was a philosophy. Only those who truly understood its value deserved to be there. She had little patience for tourists or casual onlookers. These window shoppers never buy anything. They just ruin the atmosphere, she often murmured under her breath. With a single glance, she could size up customers, instantly deciding who was worthy of stepping into this exclusive realm. That Tuesday morning, during her routine store inspection, something caught Helena's attention, and not in a good way. A woman had just entered, and everything about her screamed out of place. Faded jeans, basic sneakers, and a gray sweatshirt with the word love stretched across the front, it was an outright disruption in a space curated to exude elegance. Helena's expression tightened. She didn't allow her irritation to show, but inside, she was already calculating. From a distance, she observed the woman, subtly signaling her staff to stay alert. She doesn't belong here, Helena thought, her eyes narrowing. Yet, the woman moved through the boutique completely at ease, as if oblivious to the disapproving stares. She wandered from display to display, trailing her fingers lightly over a few items. Her expression was serene, almost curious, but it lacked the intent of someone ready to make a purchase. "Who let her in?" Helena muttered, adjusting her glasses for a clearer view. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was an intrusion. And while she maintained her composed exterior, she was already formulating the best way to deal with the situation without tarnishing the store's pristine image. Resolute, she started toward the woman, the sharp click of her heels against the marble floor a sound that commanded authority. When she reached her, Helena inhaled deeply, then smiled. It was that perfectly rehearsed smile, polite, yet laced with a distinct chill. The kind of smile she reserved for dismissing those who, in her mind, simply didn't belong. "May I help you?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, her eyes scanning the woman from head to toe. The woman lifted her gaze, and for the briefest moment, something in her eyes made Helena hesitate. There was an undeniable calmness there, an unwavering confidence that felt oddly out of place. But Helena pushed aside the fleeting unease. She needs to go, she thought. But just as she was about to make her next move, a sudden thought crossed her mind. Who is this woman? The contrast was almost jarring. This woman, standing in the middle of a world of opulence, looked like she had stepped in from an entirely different universe. The faded jeans, the scuffed sneakers, the sweatshirt with its glaringly casual message, it was almost offensive. What a disaster, Helena mused, her lips pressing into a thin line. That sweatshirt. Those sneakers. I can't decide which is worse. Everything about this woman radiated a complete disregard for the refined atmosphere around her. And yet, she didn't seem the least bit uncomfortable. She walked with an air of quiet confidence, moving as if the boutique itself adjusted to her presence, not the other way around. Helena took a slow breath, straightened the cuffs of her blazer, and decided to deal with it personally. With deliberate steps, she closed the distance between them. "May I help you?" she asked again, this time with a sharper edge beneath her practiced politeness. The woman looked up, offering a faint smile. "Just browsing," she replied. Her voice was soft, yet firm, utterly unaffected by Helena's tone. "I see," Helena said coolly, crossing her arms. "We have a very specific atmosphere here, serene, exclusive. We take great care to maintain that." The woman tilted her head slightly, as if weighing the words. "I just wanted to look around. I've never been in a boutique like this before," she said evenly. Helena let out a short, quiet breath, her irritation creeping closer to the surface. "It certainly doesn't seem like the kind of place you frequent," she remarked, allowing a trace of sarcasm to slip into her voice as she adjusted her hair. The woman smiled again, unbothered. "That's true," she admitted. "I usually prefer more relaxed spaces." Helena's jaw tightened. "Is she mocking me?" "Well," she said smoothly, refusing to let her irritation show, "we cater to those who appreciate exclusivity and sophistication." She emphasized the words deliberately, watching for a reaction. The woman gave a small nod, her expression unreadable. "Oh, I see," she murmured. "So exclusivity is something you measure by appearance?" "It's not about appearance," Helena snapped, a little too quickly. "It's about maintaining the right atmosphere for our clients." The woman's smile didn't waver. If anything, there was now a hint of irony in it. "Interesting. And what exactly makes a customer appropriate?" Helena felt her irritation rise but kept her expression composed. "Good taste. Elegance. And an understanding of what luxury truly means." The woman let out a soft, almost imperceptible laugh. "That seems like a lot of effort just to buy a dress." Helena exhaled, barely concealing her exasperation. "Our pieces are not just dresses," she corrected, emphasizing each word. "They're haute couture. Each creation represents a lifestyle, something that might be difficult to grasp for someone who isn't accustomed to it." The woman raised her eyebrows, seemingly intrigued. "And you're the one who decides who's accustomed to it?" Helena lifted her chin. "I'm the manager of this boutique," she replied firmly. "It's my job to ensure that our clients receive the experience they expect and that the brand's reputation remains intact." The woman tilted her head slightly, studying Helena as if she were some sort of puzzle. "You take this very seriously," she observed. It wasn't quite a compliment, but it wasn't an insult either. Helena hesitated for a fraction of a second. There was something about this woman, something unnervingly self-assured, as if she were completely detached from the weight of the moment. "So," Helena pressed, regaining control, "have you decided? Will you continue browsing, or would you like to try something on?" The woman smiled, enigmatic as ever. "I'm in no rush," she said lightly. "Still deciding." Helena inhaled deeply, willing herself to stay patient. But before she could respond, the boutique doors swung open again. The rhythmic click of Helena's heels echoed across the marble as she turned toward the entrance. And then, silence. It was as if the entire boutique had collectively stopped breathing. Standing in the doorway was Keanu Reeves. His presence was magnetic. Dressed in effortlessly stylish yet understated attire, he radiated a quiet confidence that made everyone around him take notice. His gaze swept the boutique before settling on the woman in the sweatshirt. "Ah, there you are," he said warmly, making his way toward her with an easy smile. Helena's stomach dropped. You know this person?" she asked, her voice faltering for the first time. The woman turned, her serene smile unwavering. "Oh, I'm sorry for the confusion," she said casually. "My name is Alexandra Grant. Keanu is my boyfriend." Helena froze. Alexandra Grant. The name wasn't just familiar, it was now unmistakably connected to the man standing in front of her. Keanu's eyes met Helena's, his expression kind but subtly probing. "Was there a problem here?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. Helena scrambled to recover, straightening the cuffs of her blazer as if that could restore her composure. "No, sir. Of course not. I was merely assisting Miss Grant, ensuring she had the best possible experience." Alexandra chuckled softly, not mocking, but with a quiet understanding. "Oh, she was very attentive," she said, glancing at Keanu in a way that only he seemed to fully understand. Keanu didn't break his easygoing smile, but something in his gaze made Helena acutely aware of every word she'd spoken earlier. "Thank you for looking after Alexandra," he said, taking her hand. "We'll take another look around." Helena remained frozen, her mind reeling as the couple strolled further into the boutique. Her employees, who had been discreetly watching the scene unfold, exchanged subtle glances, their expressions somewhere between disbelief and quiet amusement. As Alexandra, still in her simple sweatshirt, and Keanu, effortlessly commanding the room, browsed the store, the weight of Helena's mistake settled heavily on her shoulders. For the first time, she felt her confidence crack. "What have I done?" Keanu turned back toward her, his expression still unreadable. "Was there a problem here?" he repeated, his voice measured but firm. Helena swallowed, her pulse quickening. "No, sir, of course not," she said quickly. "I was merely ensuring Miss Grant had the best possible experience." Alexandra let out a soft, knowing laugh. "Oh, she was very attentive," she remarked, her eyes locking onto Helena's. Keanu's smile remained, but there was a quiet intensity behind it. "I'd like to understand something," he said, his tone carrying a calm authority that made everyone in the boutique stand a little straighter. Alexandra mentioned an interesting exchange of words. "Maybe you could clarify what happened." Helena's throat went dry. "Ah, of course, Mr. Reeves," she stammered. "I was simply ensuring that her experience aligned with our store's standards. Perhaps, there was a misunderstanding." Keanu raised an eyebrow, his posture relaxed but his presence unmistakably commanding. "A misunderstanding," he echoed, his tone inviting her to choose her next words very carefully. Helena adjusted her stance, taking a half step back. "Yes, I was just concerned about maintaining the boutique's atmosphere. We aim to provide a serene and exclusive space for our clients, and perhaps I was a bit too direct." Alexandra's voice remained calm, but there was a sharpness beneath it. "Oh, I completely understand," she said, tilting her head slightly. "Exclusivity is very important here." She held Helena's gaze for a beat longer than necessary. "It's just interesting how that seems to be measured in such subjective ways." Keanu, now crossing his arms, studied Helena. "You work on commission, don't you?" he asked, his tone light but carrying enough weight to make Helena's stomach tighten. "Yes, we do," she replied hesitantly. "But our main goal is always to serve our clients with excellence," Keanu repeated, his gaze unwavering. "Interesting." He didn't blink, didn't shift, letting the weight of his words settle over Helena. "Because it seems like the judgment came before the service." "Am I wrong?" Helena opened her mouth to respond but hesitated. She wanted to deny it, to explain, to smooth over the situation, but there was no escaping the truth. Any attempt to justify herself would only make things worse. Alexandra, observing the exchange, remained silent, letting the uncomfortable tension speak for itself. Keanu exhaled through his nose, a slow, deliberate motion. He glanced at Alexandra, then back at Helena. And when he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but his words cut like glass. What a mistake. His tone wasn't angry, nor loud, it didn't need to be. The sheer finality of it rang through the boutique like a gavel striking its mark. A big one. The words echoed in the now still boutique. Helena's stomach dropped. She saw Alexandra avert her gaze slightly, a small, knowing smile playing at her lips. Around them, customers who had been feigning disinterest now exchanged subtle glances. A quiet murmur rippled through the space. This is what happens when people judge others by appearances. I was going to buy something, but after this, I'm not sure I want to spend my money here. The words weren't directed at her, but they may as well have been daggers. And then, as if to drive the final nail into the coffin, Keanu delivered the blow Helena had been dreading. Don't worry. He took Alexandra's hand, his expression unreadable. We won't be purchasing anything today. We wouldn't want to disrupt the store's exclusive atmosphere. Alexandra let out a soft, almost amused chuckle. Thank you so much for your attention, Helena. It was enlightening. With that, they turned and walked toward the exit. The boutique remained frozen as the glass doors whispered shut behind them. Only then did Helena realize she had been holding her breath. Her employees, who had been standing stiffly in the background, finally allowed themselves to breathe. But the weight of the moment didn't lift. If anything, it settled deeper into the boutique's walls, into the very air. Then, Helena's phone vibrated in her pocket. With trembling hands, she unlocked the screen. A message flashed across a group chat. Just saw Keanu Reeves walk out of the city's most famous boutique after being mistreated. The drama was big, and deserved. Helena exhaled shakily. The full weight of the situation was crashing down on her now. This wasn't just about a single interaction. It wasn't just about losing a sale. It was about perception. About reputation. About the ripple effects that were already spreading through social media, through word of mouth, through every single customer in the store who had witnessed what had happened. And it was only just beginning. Helena remained motionless long after Keanu and Alexandra had left. The boutique still felt charged, as if their presence lingered even in their absence. She could feel her employees watching her, some nervously avoiding eye contact, others stealing glances at the door as if expecting another bombshell to drop. She straightened her blazer, willing herself to reclaim her authority. Everyone, back to work. Her voice was sharp, more so than she intended. But no one moved right away. The atmosphere remained thick with tension, the dramatic exit of the couple still reverberating like an unshakable echo. A customer, who had been eyeing a luxury timepiece in one of the display cases, turned away from the glass and faced Helena instead. I was going to buy that watch, he said evenly, but I think I'll reconsider. If the service here depends on how someone is dressed, maybe I shouldn't spend my money here. Helena forced a tight-lipped smile, but it did nothing to ease the burn of his words. One by one, other customers began leaving. Some walked out in silence. Others whispered their dissatisfaction to one another. And with each step toward the exit, Helena could feel her grip on the boutique slipping further through her fingers. She sat in her office, her phone still trembling in her hands. The call with the boutique's owner had been direct. And brutal. Do you understand what's at stake here? He had asked, his voice low and grave. It doesn't matter how many years of experience you have, Helena. A mistake like this can cost us dearly. I need you to fix this. Now. She had barely managed to stammer out an acknowledgement before the line went dead. Helena stared at the phone screen, her mind a swirling storm of shame, anger, and doubt. For years, she had believed that exclusivity meant judgment. That it was her duty as a manager to determine who deserved to be here. Now, that logic was unraveling before her eyes. Alone in her office, she replayed the incident in her mind, every moment playing back with painful clarity. Alexandra's voice echoed in her head, calm but cutting. It's curious how that seems to be measured in such subjective ways. Helena closed her eyes. For the first time in her career, she wasn't sure what to do next. Helena ran her hands over her face, feeling drained. For the first time, she questioned whether her vision of exclusivity had been wrong. Had she lost sight of what truly mattered? In her relentless pursuit of perfection, had she forgotten something far more essential, humanity? As she rifled through her desk, her fingers brushed against something old and familiar. She pulled out a photograph. It was of her younger self, standing in front of a luxury boutique, dressed simply. She had been just a girl back then, full of dreams, longing to step into a place like the one she now managed. Her own words from the previous day echoed back to her. Good taste. Elegance. Understanding luxury. But as she looked at her younger self, she saw none of those things, only a hopeful girl who once stood on the outside, looking in. When did I forget who I was? She murmured. The next day, Helena stood at the front of the boutique, facing her team. The staff room was full, yet tense. Everyone braced for a lecture, expecting either reprimands or rigid new rules. She took a deep breath. Yesterday was a difficult day, she began. And a lot of that was my fault. A few employees exchanged glances, surprised. It was rare for Helena to admit a mistake. I've always believed our job was to protect the brand's image, to maintain exclusivity, she continued. But in doing so, I lost sight of something important, respect. And yesterday, I failed to show it. A hush fell over the room. At the back, Clara, one of the most outspoken staff members, offered a small, encouraging smile. Helena looked around at her team. From today, I want us to think about exclusivity differently. Not as a barrier, but as an experience, an inviting, memorable experience for every customer who walks through that door. A boutique transformed. In the following weeks, the change was undeniable. Helena led by example, greeting every customer with warmth, regardless of their appearance or status. Staff training emphasized inclusivity rather than gatekeeping. Employees were encouraged to see people, not just prospects. Even the boutique itself transformed. Near the entrance, a new mural was installed, bearing a simple yet powerful message. Luxury is a state of mind, not an appearance. To Helena, it wasn't just a motto, it was a commitment. One afternoon, while reviewing reports in her office, she came across the photograph again. The same picture of her younger self, dreaming of luxury from the outside. But this time, as she looked at it, she didn't feel shame. She didn't feel regret. Instead, she felt a deep connection, to the girl she had once been, and the woman she was becoming. Helena placed the photo on her desk, next to Alexandra's message. It would remain there, a reminder of how far she had come. Outside, the boutique's new message shone prominently near the entrance. True luxury is not in the things we possess, but in the connections we create. Helena read the words every day, letting them guide her. The boutique was no longer just a place to sell, it was a place where people, no matter their background, felt valued. That evening, as the boutique's lights dimmed, Helena stood at the entrance for a moment, watching the city move beyond the glass doors. For the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. She was no longer just protecting a brand. She was building something better. And she was finally proud of the person she was becoming. If you enjoyed this story, explore more tales of hope, compassion, and resilience. Click to discover more.